Stay focused, man.
I'm just saying.
Focus, man.
We good.
I want us to do the right thing for this client.
Welcome to this episode of the RealT podcast. My name is Kenny Donnell. This is my wife, Tanika.
Hey, y'all.
And we are excited that you have tuned in once again. We thank you for subscribing. And for those of you that have not, make sure that you like and subscribe. Get these notifications so you can see what's going on with the RealT. But today we have an amazing guest today.
We're so honored to have you here, Tiffany Todd.
Yeah.
She is a mega agent at TDRealty.
Right? I can't even run down her whole resume. She's done so many things. So we'll give her a chance to introduce herself. How about that? And then we'll get into asking her some questions along this journey. But Tiffany, tell us a little bit about you.
All right. So first off, thank you both for having me here today. My name is Tiffany Todd. I am a real estate agent here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, originally from Longview, Texas, 903. And I am the proud mother of 3 beautiful children, 2 girls, 1 boy, boys in the middle. And I love what I do. Former school teacher, somewhat real estate instructor. I just wrote a real estate curriculum. And so single mom, and I am enjoying life. I'm blessed, no complaints.
Just doing it, right? Doing it. My goodness.
She just dropped the 903 zip code.
I know she did. She dropped it like it was hot.
Longview got it like that?
I didn't even know it was like that.
903 in Longview? I got to Google that. Well, Tiffany, how long have you been in real estate?
10.5 years.
How did you find your way from teaching into real estate?
And why?
Okay, so good questions. First off, I was desperate to get out of the classroom. And real estate was not in my mind. I had never thought about real estate. I got on Facebook when I had gotten off of work, long day at work, and I was scrolling, and the lady that sold my sister and I our home, she put a post that she was starting her brokerage and she was looking for 10 people to train to sell real estate. So I said, real estate. I said, I didn't pay attention to math class. I don't know if I would be a great real estate agent or not, but nonetheless, I was desperate. So by the time I saw this message, it was about 12 hours later. So I inboxed her and I said, hey, do you have your 10 people yet? And she said, no, I don't. And I think you'd be great. And I said, okay, send me the information. So I was married at the time, and I ran it by my then husband, and I said, what do you think of real estate? And he was the one that would ask a lot of questions, and he said, I think you'd be great at real estate. And when he didn't ask any questions, that was around February 14th. By February 23rd, I was sitting in my first real estate class. So what I did, I enrolled in Kaplan Professional Schools, and they had a weekend option on Saturdays and Sundays. So I would teach during the week, and on Saturday and Sunday, I was a student in real estate school. A month and a half later, I was a licensed real estate agent. I got licensed on my birthday.
What?
Yes. And so
I have to ask, how long did you stay in teaching after you got your real estate license?
So I actually resigned at the end of that school year.
Look at you.
I did. And so at the time, I didn't realize it was a huge leap of faith, but I took a leap of faith because I didn't have the year's worth of savings saved up. Again, I was desperate. I knew something needed to shift, and I saw this opportunity, and I took it and ran with it. And I have not looked back.
That is a bold move to jump into real estate like that, right? Because a lot of people are afraid to do that. And then back 10 years ago, right?
Oh, man.
Where the interest rates were in a normal state,
Absolutely.
Right? They weren't this little 2 and 3%.
Not this 8.5.
Right.
They were at 5.5%, 6%. But something that I think is kind of interesting, as I've been just kind of reflecting over some things, I'm seeing things come back full circle because the market was similar back then to where it's headed now. And so I'm grateful for that at the beginning because I have some tools to allow me to sustain as this market is evolving. So I'm glad about that. Mm-hmm.
And the great thing about the evolution of real estate, because we tell the agents this all the time, this is cyclical. It comes right back around. Tell others what you've been doing in this market to be successful, because a lot of times people don't think you can be successful in a market like this, but you've proven that that's not the truth.
Right. So it goes back to the basics. And what I mean by basics is going back to sphere of influence. Things that I started out doing as a new agent, I'm back there. And one thing I have always told myself is don't ever get too comfortable. You have not arrived yet. I still say, oh, I'm a newer agent. Even though it's been 10 and a half years, I stay in a learner mindset because you can never know too much. You can never get too comfortable. So going back to the basics, that is calling my sphere of influence, video texting. So before it was sending a text, now it's video texting, even on social media, connecting with my audience. And so just basic things, handwritten letters, I still do those. And so that has allowed me to sustain in this market. And what is happening is the people that all this time that I've been reaching out to, those are the ones calling and referring business. And I'm like, okay, so instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, oh my gosh, we're shifting, let me find something new to try out. No, I just went back to the basics.
I have to ask one question. You are an agent that has had a viral moment. Talk about the influences of social media and utilizing it to your advantage, because you had a crazy video.
Okay, so social media is huge. It's really huge. So I started just really doing more on social media. And one thing when we were doing our coaching, Kenny, that has stuck with me, you said, Tiffany, you need to start doing things that are proactive and not reactive as far as lead generating. And so that stuck with me because I told him, I said, man, business is a little slow. It's not where it needs to be. And he was looking and he said proactive and not reactive. So I said, okay, I have a following on social media. Let me just really take this and go. So started doing reels. So I was at my nephew's graduation. And I had on these little shorts and this little shirt. My mom and my sister was there. And I said, let's do a video. And they were like, oh, no, I'm not getting a video with you. I said, what if we do a video on what not to do as a real estate agent? I got these short shorts on and this little shirt, these heels. What if we do a video of that? And my mom said, oh, yeah, I'll get in that. My sister said, oh, yeah, I'll get in that, too. So I was like, okay. We literally did one take of that video. My son, I gave him the camera. If you listen closely, you can hear him laughing while he's recording. So the video was, if your realtor is acting like this, run and call me. Well, boy, did that video run. So I'm expecting my usual 500 or 600. So we put it out there and I broke it up into two parts. We put the first part out there. 10 minutes later, I started noticing I'm getting these alerts for TikTok. And I'm like, okay. So I told my mom, okay, it's taking off. As the time is going on, my phone, it was alerting. I had to turn the alerts off. Wow. So I'm like, I think I'm going viral. So I was like, okay. Well, then I looked down in the comments. So I'm new to this. And so comments are like, who is this lady? We need to call her broker. We need to have her license revoked, and we don't use her. This is a horrible agent. So then that high moment came down, and then I started getting worried. I was like, oh my gosh. I said, I got to call Tanika and I got to apologize because I wasn't trying to bring this attention, because they were like, well, what brokerage? And somebody was coming, she's here. And I'm like, oh no. And so I was just like, okay. And so that night I did not sleep because it was like comments. And then the next morning I pulled up at church, my phone rings and it was a number I didn't recognize. So I said, well, let me answer real quick. So I said, hello, this is Tiffany. This man said, Tiffany, "Are you the Tiffany on TikTok?" And I said, "Yes, sir." "Was that a real video? That was fake, wasn't it?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Okay, because you'll be out of business. Click."
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And so my mom was in the car with me and my daughter was in the car and they were like, "Mom, everybody's starting to know who you are." And I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. Like, I don't like this feeling. And so it just got to a point for those couple of days where I didn't want to get on TikTok because the comments, I mean, people were rude and they were calling me ghetto and trash and I mean, just all kinds of stuff. But, okay,
But
time went on. It subsided. What happened was I started getting people. So I had been putting out videos. So my video viewing went up. And so people started inboxing me. "Hey, I want to relocate to Texas. Can you help me? I saw your video where you work with relocation clients. Can you help me?" So from that, it ended up turning into something positive.
exactly.
After the fact. So the power of social media with a business is really strong. And it is true. It can make or break you. So I do encourage people, if you are not on social media, get on there. And you don't have to do anything perfect. And one thing before that video, when I would do these reels, it would take me hours because I'm trying to perfect it. And I want it to look nice. Oh, I didn't say this. Let me go back. That was one and done. 1 minute and 47 seconds. That's it. And so after that, I just been doing reels. So now if I'm getting my hair done, "Hey, come along with me to see me get my hair done." And so my stylist has started getting business from the videos. And like I said, the relocation piece from that, and even the investing piece. I'm getting into investing now, and I've been putting that on social media. So the house that I purchased over a month ago, that was from one of my clients, saw that I was investing, and he sent me a property. He said, "Hey, you or anyone you know want to buy this property?" And I looked and I ran the comps and I said, this may be a good one. And so that's from social media. That's how I got into it. So the power of social media is very, very important. Very important.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, they used to say that as long as they're talking about you, right? As long as they're talking about you. An interesting thing about that whole reel was the people who didn't pay attention to it were the ones blasting and commenting and have all these things to say, right? But you always have this quiet audience. Sometimes they never comment, they never say anything, but they're watching. And after all the noise subsides, you actually started getting the positive feedback of things.
Yes. And so I put it on all of my social media platforms, and I have been putting these reels out there. And so I actually, in July, I got a listing from that because I had one on there where I was doing a walkthrough with one of my sellers who were getting her home prepped to go on the market. And this lady inboxed me and she said, "Do you service tarot?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And so when I met with her, I asked her, I said, "How did you find me?" She said, "Oh, I put a post out and you were tagged in it along with a lot of other realtors." She said, "I went to your page and I was watching your videos." And she said, "I saw you walking through with your seller." And she said, "You look like someone that could help me get my dad's house sold." And I was like, oh, so I've gotten business just from the reels. And as you know, they kind of recycle themselves. 1 minute, you may not be getting a lot of views, and the next minute your views are going up. So huge.
How do you juggle, as we got out of the sound system going how do you juggle the mom piece, right? Of you're building your business, you're doing the things you're doing, and mom, right?
Single mom.
How do you juggle that?
So what I did in 2020, because prior to 2020, I was all over the place, picking up my kids, getting them food, driving to show houses, they're with me. And I said, you know what? No more. So typically, when I pick up my children from school, that's the end of my workday. And so it's very important to me, the hours that they are in school, that I utilize that time for appointments, phone calls, whatever it is I need to do. Now, occasionally, you know, I may have someone that's a late worker that I'll need to accommodate for. But once I pick up my kids, that's pretty much it. Now, I may have a phone call to come in, but as far as out doing real estate stuff, that's a no, because I wanted to make sure as we transitioned into this new piece of our life that they had all of me that they could get. It was no more, okay, Mom, we got to go with her doing this. And they saw that, but I wanted to be very intentional about making sure they had my undivided attention, that it was no more, okay, well, we got to wait for Mom to finish this or whatnot. So when I picked them up, is, hey, how's your day? What did y'all do? And they're typically fighting over who's going to talk to me first. No, I need to talk to her first. My stuff is more important. But being able to be present for them has made a ton of difference. And so I am grateful to even be able to be in a position to be a business owner to where I do have that control over my schedule. And when it's time for my kids, I'm there. So games is no more missing games. I'm there. Oh, you play at 6 o'clock? Okay, I'm there. And so that has been the balance that I've had. And so we, like my daughter and I, sometimes we cook. And so I try to make sure I'm doing activities with them. I'm not just at home. Now, some days I'm tired. I go in my room, I close my door. But for the most part, I am very active in their life. And so I'm grateful for real estate to be able to do that. So there's the balance there.
And being an entrepreneur, you're able to set your schedule and be more productive with the time that you have. I think that's where a lot of agents don't do well, is being productive. They think they're busy, but they're not productive. Right. So it sounds like you do a lot of time blocking and managing of your time and being extremely productive in the time that you have.
Yes. So pretty much every day, I know what my day is going to look like. And I learned that from another agent. Her name's Rosemary. Got to give her a shout out. Rosemary Lewis. The time blocking piece, because before it was like, okay, I write this down, but it wasn't time blocked. And when I really, again, intentional about time blocking, my day and even my life started to flow a lot better. It was no more being all over the place. It was, okay, it's 11. Okay, this is what I have to do from this time. I'm going to eat, or if I choose not to eat, then I have some time for this. And it also allowed me to free up some time. So some days I finish up early, and on those days when I do, I'm like, okay, what am I doing? What I do? So it is nice to be able to do that. And, you know, it just being intentional. I can't stress that enough. Being intentional and not letting your day run you. So.
How'd you find the I'm going to say the strength. How'd you find the courage? Actually, that's the word how'd you find the courage to manage your schedule like that? Because a lot of agents will be like, ooh, then I'm not going to be able to get any business because people want to see houses in the afternoon. They want to see houses late in the evening. How do you find the courage to be specific about your time and then stick to that with a few fluctuations?
So one, you teach people how to treat you. And so with that is you have your schedule. These are the hours that I'm available. And of course, like I said, some people you do have to adjust, but this is my availability. So if you're wanting to utilize me as your agent, then this is how this is going to go. I'm not running all over the place. I'm not talking at midnight, or I'm not doing that. So if you would like to work with me, and it's also about boundaries as well. Sure. So if you want to work with me, this is my schedule. This is when I'm available. If it doesn't fit, maybe I'm not a good agent. I'm not the good fit for you. So
I'm sure also that you've incorporated the ability to do virtual tours and utilize technology in a certain way where it works for both you and the client.
Yes. And so I'm not, so I want to make sure I'm clear also. I'm not one of those agents, okay, well, I told you, you gonna work with them or not. I'm not like that. I am very flexible to a certain extent, and that goes back to having a schedule. I am able to say, okay, well, Wednesday we don't have anything going on, so if Miss Smith needs to look at 6:30, then I can put her in at 6:30. But it has taken me a while to get to this place because early on, I call it chasing dollars. I was so busy chasing dollars, not wanting to lose business to where I was all over. Like, oh, 7 o'clock. Okay, I'm there packing up kids. And that wore me down. Because it was just me. And it was only so much that I could do as trying to juggle mom, wife, me, agent. And so I had to say, okay, where do I draw the line here? Where are the boundaries here? Okay. So doing that, it took me, just being honest, it took me about 5-6 years to really get to a place to where I'm able to say, okay, this is my schedule. This is my availability. So it wasn't an overnight thing, and it was some trial and error. You know, I would start, and then sweet little Miss Smith would call, and okay, and now I'm doing it for everyone else.
Exactly.
So
thank you for saying that, because a lot of agents, especially brand new agents, don't have the reality to know you can eventually get there. But you just mentioned it was 5, 6, 7 years that you were able to be that way.
Yeah. So what has been the biggest challenge in building your business to the point where you are? Because I mean, we didn't talk about production, but over the last few years, around how many deals have you closed?
Altogether, it's been close to 100, because I on average do about 45 deals. Now, when I was going through the divorce and even the transition after that, there was a dip in my production, and I was very hard on myself because I was used to a certain level of production, but I had to stop and give myself some grace and be like, okay, you know, you're having a major life transition here. And there was a time, and I spoke on this back in April when I was on John Williams' panel. For some months, it was very hard for me to function, to get out of bed, to even just have the mindset to continue running. And, you know, I was showing up and, you know, for my clients, but I was not okay. And so there was a decline in production because I was getting phone calls, but either I referred out or I wouldn't call them back, just because I wasn't in the space to try to deal with the personalities and try to be there for me. And I have these kids that are crying, and, you know, and there were days I woke up, I didn't know what Tiffany was going to show up. Am I going to get the old Tiffany that was pre-divorce, or am I getting this angry Tiffany, or are we getting bitter Tiffany today? I didn't know what Tiffany was going to show up today. And there were some days I would make up excuses to not show houses because I just, in that capacity, I wasn't able to. And I'm the type of person I believe in, if I'm not going to give it my all, I'm not going to do it at all. And I feel like when people are trusting in me with thousands, hundreds, thousands of dollars, I need to show up. But I couldn't. And I had to give myself some grace when there was a decline in my production. I started just feeling like I wasn't good enough. And, oh, girl, you old school real estate. You're washed up. Like, these are voices that I'm hearing that nobody wants to call you anymore. Look at all these new agents coming in and they, you know, out-producing you, and you have no business. It's time for you to go find something else. And I had to get a hold of those voices and say, okay, you know what? This is not true. I had an event that happened, but it doesn't define me. A divorce does not define me. Life goes on. I now have to shift into what does this new next look like? And so I think a lot of times we get so caught up, especially when we've been known to perform and do things a certain way, we get so caught up in trying to keep this image, this persona, and we're wearing this mask and we're not being authentic. And eventually it starts crumbling down. So I had to take a pause in that moment and say, you know what? It's okay. Give yourself some grace. You'll get back. You know what you're capable of doing. Girl, you're a boss. You know, I had to start back really doing that. And so it took a lot of writing on my mirror with the dry erase marker. You are amazing. You are a beautiful woman. You are and so what started happening as I started saying those affirmations, because I say them every day, then I started feeling better. And I started feeling like my old self again. I was like, oh, I'm back and I'm better than I was. So ain't nobody stopping me. You know, I still got it. I'm not washed up. So just being able to shift, and even my kids recognizing it. And like my youngest daughter, she's like, Mom, you know, something's different. You've been happier, because they were with me through all this, the ugly, the crying, the kicking, the scream. They saw all of that. And so to be able to come on the other side, one of my prayers was, okay, God, I'm going through this right now. If I ever get the courage to talk about this, because I didn't want to talk about it. I said, so if I ever get the courage to talk about this, let what I say motivate and encourage someone else. Let somebody else that's struggling in the background or doesn't have anyone to talk to, let it be a message to them that it's okay. You're going to get through this. And so that's how I just started to think.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
That is amazing. So last question. We ask everybody this question. So when it's all said and done, when your story is written, when you've gotten through being on all these panels and speaking engagements and magazines and all this stuff, what will a success have looked like to you?
It goes down to my children. Everything that I do, even being here, is for my children. And so if my children are taken care of when I'm long gone, then I did what I needed to do, because everything is for them. It is for them. So, yeah.
Believe me, we can relate. Thank you, Tiffany Todd, for taking the time today. It has made our day. It's been very enlightening to know a little bit more about you. So thank you. Hey, y'all, this wraps up our RealT podcast today, but please don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us. And we look forward to seeing you on the next one. All right, y'all.